Now you can either accept that, or you can get to work.
This will come as quite a shock to my crewmates. And to NASA. And to the entire world. But I'm still alive. Surprise.
And we are in focus. Greetings, YouTubers, and welcome to my 2016 Race to the Oscars video series where we give each Oscar contender an in-depth analysis. Today we will be analyzing the movie Martian. Martian was directed by Ridley Scott, the legendary director. Ridley Scott is responsible for directing films like American Gangster, Gladiator, Thelma and Louise, Blade Runner, the list goes on and on. Also, this film is stacked in terms of talent. The lead role is played by Matt Damon. Jessica Chastain is also in this film. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in this film. Kate Mara, Childish Gambino, Jeff Daniels, or should we say Joey Gladstone. Now, what is this movie about? This movie takes place in the 2030s, where a group of astronauts makes a mission out to Mars. This mission is called the Ares 3. They are to stay in Mars for 31 days. However, they must cut the mission short due to an unexpected extreme Martian storm. The character Mark Watney is left behind because he is presumed dead. Surprise, he is not dead. It turns out he's alive. His crew's already on their way back to Earth, and NASA gives a public announcement that he's dead. This creates a problem for Mark Watney because he must now survive on Mars by himself. Also, he must contact NASA and try and make it known to the world that he is actually alive, not dead. Luckily, Mark Watney is the crew botanist. Now, I thought to myself, how is this any use? Botany is the study of plants, so therefore, Mark Watney is able to grow his own food. And this is actually one of the main reasons that he's able to survive, aside from the rest of his NASA training.
Here's where I give an analysis of the movie's performance overall. Rotten Tomatoes gave this film a 93. Flickster, an audience-based rating, gave it a 93, so both critics and audience love this film. All the other contenders for Best Picture 2016 are in the 90s. It is also certified fresh, which means that it is above a 75% in ratings, and it has a certain amount of critic reviewers. So I think it's more than 5 that is the requirement to have it certified fresh. IMDb is more of a diluted critic score, meaning a lot more people rate it, so the score is going to kind of come down a little bit. Metacritic gave it an 80%. Metacritic also rates games as well and television series, and 80% is really good for Metacritic as well. It's in good company. All the other contenders for Best Picture 2016 are, in the 8 range for IMDb and Metacritic, and in the 90s for Rotten Tomato and Flickster. This movie has made over $100 million, kind of going towards $200 million so far. So it was also successful in box office. Some Oscar-nominated movies don't even make that much money at all. They kind of end up making $1 or $2 million maybe. So this is a very well-rounded film. Everyone loves it. The critics love it. The audience loves it, and it's for all ages. You could be a kid, you could be an adult, you could be a teenager, and you'll be entertained by this movie, and it applies to everyone. So it's definitely one of my favorites on the list, and here it is.
Now this is the part of the video where I give my opinion on some elements of the movie that I interpreted or found were interesting. First off, I think there was a subtle twist in the fact that I saw a conflict coming between Mark Watney and NASA, and the reason for this is that when NASA first discovers Mark Watney is actually alive, they hesitate in telling his crew that he's actually alive. First off. Second, they're just talking so much about the publicity and how it's going to look bad for NASA, but in reality, NASA ends up doing their best to help Mark Watney survive, and they even broadcast him and don't filter any of it to the entire Earth. So that was kind of a subtle twist. People refer to this film as a Robinson Crusoe or Castaway meets Apollo 13, and I agree with that. Both those films have elements that are kind of combined in this film. He is Robinson Crusoe. He is cast away because he is a pioneer. He is in a new land. He's the kind of a Christopher Columbus, if you will. And he is up against all odds, and he's kind of the underdog. You know, it's him versus Mars. Who's going to win? Anyone would probably say Mars. And, you know, in reality, he just ends up doing a great job because he's so intelligent and he's so persistent. And more than anything, he's just so optimistic throughout the whole film. This whole film, it has a lot of comedy in it. And the comedy is just kind of to relieve the tension because he's in a terrible situation. And don't get me wrong, the film definitely has a lot of sad moments, and you know, it is what it is. He's stuck in this deserted planet with basically no food, and he's by himself and doesn't really know too much about Mars's conditions. It had a lot of comedic moments, and Mark Watney is pretty hilarious the whole time. And yeah, I don't think a lot of people really expected this film to be as funny as it actually was. And that concludes this video. Stay tuned for the rest of the 9 films which I will analyze in this video series. Next up is Sicario.